We are here with Utah Valley University today, and we are with their wellness programs. We have Max and Eliza. Thanks so much for being here, you guys.
Of course.
We started this podcast because we just wanted to teach women about the benefits of getting quality sleep. We have 5 habits, one of them being getting enough sleep, making sure you're getting your protein intake, moving your body 30 minutes a day, drinking water, and then getting your fruits and veggies in. And so we wanted to have Max and Eliza come in to talk about some of the benefits of sleep. And so just before we jump in, we're Wellah. Wellah is a women's wellness company focused on making it easy and affordable to take care of yourself even when life gets busy. We believe that wellness should be accessible for everyone, so that's why we make our products affordable. We also believe that no matter where you're starting, there's a place for you in the wellness space. If you're just getting into working out, you don't have a great sleep schedule, you're trying to build that out, you're just trying to get better water intake, we just want to be that stepping stone for women to know where to start. And so kind of talked about our 5 habits, but again, we just want to have these habits as a guide for our audience so they know where to start. If they have any questions, we're here to give you guys tools and tips, all of that fun stuff. And with sleep, it affects everything from how you function. McKenna earlier today she was saying, she's like, guys, do you know if you don't get enough sleep, you'll die, which is right. And so most people might not know that. Some people might know that. We didn't really know that. But the sleep affects everything to how you function, how your body is, your immune system. And so we wanted to bring in the UVU wellness team to kind of talk about that today. So I'd love to start things off. Why is sleep so important for our health and performance?
Yeah, so obviously it's going to be important for all of us as human beings, but it's also important for us specifically as women. And so we'll kind of hit on both a little bit, but it's going to help our learning and memory a ton. So while we're sleeping, our body is creating new pathways for learning and memories and taking in information. And so sleep helps us to have a better memory, actually. There was a study actually done in Minnesota where they started school times an hour later to give the students more sleep, and they found that resulted in a net SAT score increase of 212 points. So it really does make a difference for our brains. With that, recovery and injury prevention, sleep deprivation has a lot of negative effects, and I'm sure we've all felt that. But like lactic acid buildup, we're going to have less oxygen in our blood flow, actually. Which leads to a whole nother sort of things. We want to have oxygen in our blood flow. And then it actually makes it harder for our bodies to cool off after working out and to regulate its own temperature. So that's another thing. We also just have better workouts, when we're feeling rested. So when we're sleeping, our body is releasing hormones, growth hormones that are repairing and restoring our cells while we sleep. It also our immune systems. So the hormones that are released while we're asleep helps our immunity, our mood. I think we can all relate to this probably. It's like if we're getting more sleep, we're going to be happier. There's a statistic that says sleep deprivation can lead to 60% emotional reactivity, like it affects it at 60%. And so that basically means that we may perceive people to be a lot more upset with us than they actually are. So it's like the feeling of like the world is against us kind of a thing. Yeah. We're 60% more likely to experience that when we're sleep deprived.
That's me like every day.
I did
something wrong every day.
Yeah. But then with us females specifically, so obviously we have like our monthly cycles and we're having fluctuating levels of progesterone and estrogen during our monthly cycles. And those actually really affect our sleep. Which is really interesting, but progesterone has a calming and sedative effect that helps us to relax and promote deeper sleep. And then estrogen helps us to stay asleep longer and also helps with our body temperature. And so when we're having our natural cycles, we're, especially in our menstrual cycle, when we're on our period, those levels are lower, making it harder to sleep. And so if we're getting on a good sleep schedule and we're taking care of that, then it's going to help support our body's natural hormones, which is really cool. Another one is emotional and mental health for us women. One of my favorite psychiatrists, Dr. Daniel Amen, he looks at the female brain and the male brain, and he says we're not the same species. Like after looking at the scans, he's like, the female brain is way busier. Like there's just a lot going on. And so he says that we're a lot more likely to have like mood disorders or emotional disorders, anxiety, depression, things like that. And so when we're getting sleep, we're able to support that and decrease those risks. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like with women's health, I feel like we're just kind of starting to figure things out for the most part.
Yeah, it
Like-
feels that way.
Like I saw something the other day and it was like seatbelts aren't made for women's bodies, they're made for men's bodies. And like they technically like aren't protecting us the same as like a man's body if like we were getting in a car accident. So like talking about sleep, I feel like I'm learning so much because I just feel like they don't teach this stuff in school and you just learn as you go. And like I had no idea that it affects your cycle and your sleep. So that's so interesting.
I feel like most people learn it when it's too late.
Yeah.
Or if they've experienced disorder or things like that. That's when they're like, oh, I need to figure out why I'm having sleep problems or why my body's acting like this. So
yeah, well, it kind of goes into like that cycle syncing, like knowing your cycle and stuff, because it's like, why am I so tired today? Like, what's going on? It's like, well, your hormone levels are changing by the week. So
Okay, so from your guys' data, we know that more than a third of adults aren't getting the sleep that they need, and that's usually about 7 to 8 hours. At Wellah, we try to shoot for about 8 to 9. What are some of the main reasons that people aren't getting there with their sleep?
I'll take that one. So that's a fantastic question. I think there's a lot of factors that kind of contribute to a problem like that. And some of it might have to do with sleep just not being a high enough priority for people. You know, if you're extremely busy, it might seem kind of unproductive. You know, people will cut into their sleep thinking, oh, I'm going to take an hour or two off of my sleep schedule so I can be more productive and get other things done. But I think as a result, you'll see that the quality of your work kind of starts to take a decrease when you're cutting into your sleep. You know, screen time close to bed also is going to be a big one.
guilty.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure for a lot of us, our phone is kind of like the last thing that we engage with before we fall asleep. And it's not just smartphones, though. Any kind of backlit device, so tablets, computers, televisions, they're all going to emit what's called blue light. And that blue light exposure on our face actually kind of tricks our body and our minds into thinking that it's still daytime. And so as a result, that's going to slow things like our melatonin production, which helps to generate sleep, and then eventually, ultimately delays the onset of sleep. So it's interesting, there's this concept, it's called revenge bedtime procrastination, where
Revenge.
yeah, I know it sounds silly, but it's where you kind of intentionally delay the onset of sleep, not because you're super busy, but because you're kind of trying to reclaim like a sense of freedom. You know, you've had a super busy day with school or work or whatever responsibilities. And so at the end of the day, when it comes time to go to bed, you didn't feel like you really got any time for yourself. And so what do? You make up for it by doom scrolling on social media, you know, watching television, things like that, even if you are tired or if it's going to, we all are, even if it's going to cut into your sleep. So a couple other things, you know, things like certain substances, caffeine and alcohol in the evening that can kind of start to disrupt, whether it's a stimulant or a downer, things like that. Even just having a poor sleep environment, you know, if the place you're sleeping isn't set up to be conducive for it, it's going to make it difficult to get restful sleep.
I want you to go more into details on the environment of that.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Absolutely.
Ideally?
So I would say things like having it cool and quiet, and you know, making sure you have a comfortable bed, things like that. You want to oftentimes dim the lights like an hour before you even go to bed, because sometimes it feels like it's like go, all of a sudden time to sleep, and you didn't give your body really time to kind of calm down or relax. So for some people, things like taking a hot bath or a shower before bed can really help.
I remember, so I went to UVU. I graduated from UVU. I worked at UVU before I graduated, and they actually gave a presentation to the department that I was working in. And one thing that I remembered from the past year is I think you guys said something about like warming up to cool down, and I've like that's stuck in the back of my mind for the past year. And I always take a shower before bed now, and I feel like it's like boosted my sleep quality, and I love it. And I feel like that's actually been so helpful. and it's just kind of like you warm up to cool down, and I just love that. I think it's like a perfect mix of like, it's also just kind of relaxing. Like you don't want to be like super wound up before you go to bed too, because I feel like that doesn't fall asleep at all. But
Absolutely.
You said cool temperatures. Do we sleep better in cooler temperatures?
Yeah, so I think from some of the research that I've seen, if you can keep your room a little bit cooler, it's going to help you fall asleep quicker and stay asleep and get through some of those sleep cycles a little bit better. So
I remember reading this book called There's No Such Thing as Bad Weather, and she's Scandinavian. She talks about like raising children in Scandinavia, and she's like, y'all sleep outside when you have your babies and you take them on a walk. Everyone leaves their strollers outside and they sleep
I've seen that.
in the cold.
That's
But I've heard so many people talk about that. We sleep longer and deeper when it's cooler.
Yeah.
But in the United States, that's like not a thing.
it's funny. There was a summer growing up where the air conditioning in my house went out. And so I would go out and I'd sleep on the tramp every night because it was a lot cooler out there. And I found that I got significantly better sleeping outside on the tramp than
I bet.
in the hot house.
I feel like when it's hot, like we live in an older house, and so I feel like the AC goes out a lot. And when it's hot, I feel like I have nightmares and I just can't sleep. Like actually, I wake up and I'm like, I had the worst sleep of my life, and it's just, oh yeah, I hate that we like sleeping in hot. If it was up to me, I feel like sleeping in like a really cold room with a ton of blankets, that's like my favorite thing.
If I may, I just want to touch on one more thing that I think contributes to people not getting adequate sleep, and that's going to just be irregularity in sleep schedules. The body, it really loves consistency, and sleeping is no exception. I'm certainly not exempt from this, but it's like a lot of times we'll have a weekday sleep schedule and a weekend sleep schedule, where hopefully during the weekday, we're going to bed and getting up around the same time, and then the weekend it's like, well, no responsibilities, so
Yeah.
get up and go to bed whenever.
Yeah.
And that actually can start to kind of disconnect us from, we have like an internal biological clock. It's called our circadian rhythm. And when we have fluctuating bedtimes and rising times, it disconnects us from that circadian rhythm and makes sleeping more difficult.
Yeah. So I love how you mentioned circadian rhythm, and when you guys did do this presentation, I loved what you kind of talked a little bit about that. Can you guys go into explaining more about why that matters and why it's so important?
For sure. This is actually one of the things I am really passionate about with sleep, and just like in general. I think our circadian rhythm is so cool.
Yeah.
So what it is, it's basically like our body's biological clock or schedule. So it's going to let us know when we're tired, when we're awake, even when we get hungry. Our body temperature changes throughout the day due to our circadian rhythm. Also, like even metabolic, our metabolic rate is impacted by our circadian rhythm. So there's just a lot of things that come into play with it, and like having a healthy and consistent circadian rhythm is really good. But everyone's circadian rhythm is different. It's usually about 24 hours, like a 24-hour schedule that our bodies are on. But there are different things that kind of cue it and like can impact it. And one of those things is light. I don't know if you guys have heard about like morning sunlight, like get sunlight in the morning.
Yeah.
And that's because
I've been trying to do that, but I've been so bad.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard because you wake up and it's cloudy sometimes, but it's important because that kind of resets us for the day. It's like our body is like sees that sunlight and it resets us. Or like Max was saying about dimming the lights before bed, I bought a lamp and it was like a really good, it like changed my life. I feel like my lamp did, because it's like now before bed, I just turn off my lights, but I just have the lamp on. And so I can like read or whatever to kind of wind down. And it's just like the vibes change because the lighting's different, and it's like, okay, now I'm relaxing.
I hate the big light. I tell them all the time, I'm like, we should just get rid of the big light at our office and I'll just have lamps at our desk.
Yeah. So things like that. So light is a really big part of setting our internal clock or our circadian rhythm. Another thing is melatonin. And a lot of people think that melatonin makes them fall asleep, but what it actually does is it regulates the timing of our sleep. And so it just signals to our brain that it's time to like start relaxing or time to start generating sleep. And a lot of people take melatonin supplements. So I kind of wanted to throw something in about that, if it's okay with you guys.
Absolutely.
Because it is so popular. And I grew up like in high school, I would just take like a melatonin supplement every night. I'm like, cool, I'm going to get a good sleep.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's actually not the best thing to take long term. And so Like it has its uses, but taking it long term has some dangers. Like it can lead to a psychological dependence where we feel like we need it. Me in high school, I felt like I needed it every night.
I would stress out if we ran out of melatonin. I'm like, I'm not gonna sleep tonight. What am I gonna do? And no, it was bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And then another thing is that it can actually, because our body's naturally producing it, at the right levels to help us to fall asleep at night. And it fluctuates throughout the day to give us energy and stuff. And so if we're taking it every single night, it can disrupt our body's natural production of it. And our body won't produce it in the regular healthy way it's supposed to. And so I would say not take it every day. But that being said, there are times that I think it can be really helpful. Like say you're traveling and you have jet lag, or you're trying to like reset your circadian rhythm. Maybe someone worked graveyard shifts for a few months and now they're switching back to regular. And so it's just kind of helping. It can be there to help your body get back into its routine and into its circadian rhythm. So, but that's a little bit about melatonin supplements because I think that that's like a common question.
I like that. And I think we talk about using supplements as tools a lot at Wellah.
Yeah.
We don't, like, if we say, oh, take protein, this is going to, help you lose a bunch of weight and you're going to be totally fine. It's not like something magic to help you. It's a tool to help you get to where you want to be. Same with like taking creatine or using BCAAs so you're not as sore. We like to think of supplements more as tools rather than this is going to fix your whole problem that you have. So I love that you
right. Well, and it's like it's called a supplement for a reason. It's something that you like add, so it's like take a protein supplement, but also, eat some chicken, So it's like get it from your food too, like I don't know. Another thing we talk about when we talk about our circadian rhythm is our chronotypes. And I always thought these are kind of silly, but I think it is important to know these because it can kind of help you get in tune with your body and figure out what's naturally comfortable for you. And then it can help you plan your day too, like knowing what you are, your chronotype is, then you can plan your day, your schedule. Maybe you pick a work schedule that's earlier in the day or later in the day due to it. So we have 3 types, and this was in our presentation as well. But we have the morning lark, the intermediate hummingbird, and the night owl. And the morning lark prefers to wake around 6:30 in the morning. And that's actually about 40% of people, which people are surprised. They're like, oh, that's a lot of people. But the intermediate hummingbird is the next one, and they like to wake between 7:30 and 9 a.m. And then the night owl likes to wake after 10 a.m. and sometimes into the afternoon. And you may know, I know. You may know, you might be like, oh, I'm a morning person, or oh, I'm a night person. But we do have a couple questions that can kind of help you to like reflect and figure out, oh, that's kind of give you an idea of what you are. So the first question is, if you had no obligations, what time would you go to bed to help you feel and perform your very best? And then the second one is, if you had no obligations, what time would you wake up to help you feel and perform your best?
Think I would need, like, now that I'm adult, now that I have responsibilities, I think waking up at 9 is like sleeping in for me. And if I kind of go past that, I stress out. But if like me in high school would be like, oh, I can wake up at 11, it's totally fine. But like how I think of it,
I think my sleep is, I used to be sleep. I would sleep like 1.
No, same.
But I've had to readjust schedule so many times as an adult because of work schedules or things going on. So I used to go to bed really late, 2 a.m., wake up at 12 p.m. And now I go to bed at like 9. That's what I feel like my body's like, stop. Like, this is not right, because I really want to go to bed
at 9:30. But I think something, if I were to lay in bed at 9:30, I think I wouldn't fall till like 11.
So I feel like I'm in the middle where I'm definitely not a morning person. I tried it for like 3 months. I was like, my body is terrible. Like, I can't do 5
I feel
a.m.
the same, yeah.
Could I do it? Yeah, but I don't feel good, so...
Yeah. Well, I feel like we also live in a culture where it's like, wake up early. Like, that's like so productive, but all of our bodies are different. And when it comes down to it, a lot of people are going to feel more comfortable waking up early, and a lot of people are later. We're not all the same, and that's okay. And not one's necessarily better than the other. Right. Maybe someone's like studying really hard at midnight or something, you know,
right.
or it's just because you go to bed late doesn't mean you're not a productive person, you know?
Yeah.
So
I think culturally too, people see morning people as like, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I've always felt bad
No, me too.
because I'm not waking up super early. I'm like, I prefer to start work at like 10, but that's like a no-no in most work
Yeah.
cultures. And so it's like, I'm glad that you said that it's like, it's normal for people to have different times that they want to wake up and body feels comfortable with that.
Yeah. I also find that I try to get everything done in my day at night. I feel like I clean my house at night and it drives my husband insane. He's like, can you just relax? I'm like, no, I have to clean the house and then I can relax. And by that time it's like 10:30 and then I'm going to bed at 11. And then I want to wake up early, but then my body, no, I'm not getting enough sleep. So that's when I wake up in the day.
Yeah, and with those chronotypes, it's like you're going to have times, depending on what your chronotype is, that you're going to be more productive. And so figuring out kind of what your chronotype is and then scheduling, trying to schedule accordingly. You know, if you know you have something you need to do that you need a lot of focus and energy and attention, trying to schedule it when you know you're going to have that at your disposal.
Helpful to know.
Yeah. I think that's so interesting too, because I feel like it's always been like, okay, you're either an early bird or a night owl. And I love like the intermediate hummingbird.
Oh, yeah.
I just love that wording. It's so fun. But it is like, it's like the perfect kind of synonym for it because anyway. But let's talk a little bit about sleep deprivation. So what would you guys say actually happens when we cut our sleep short or like we don't prioritize getting enough hours so like we can function?
Yeah. So great question. We kind of cycle through about 4 different stages of sleep, and we generally spend more time in the first couple stages towards the beginning of the night, and then the last couple stages towards the end of the night. And look, it's interesting because it kind of depends. Like if you're going to bed later than usual, you're missing out on some of those first stages. And one of those first stages has, it's called deep sleep. And so deep sleep has been shown if you have enough time in deep sleep, you're getting, it's going to help with things like building our immune system, allowing for more insightful thinking and creativity and memory. So when you're lacking getting enough of that deep sleep, you know, things like poor decision making might follow, slowed thinking, worsened immune function, stuff like that. And then on the other side, when you wake up earlier than usual or normal, you're missing out on some of those latter stages. And one of those stages it's called REM sleep. I'm sure everybody's heard of it. It's rapid eye movement. And that REM sleep has been shown to be essential for things like problem solving, emotional regulation, you know, cognitive functioning. So some sleep deprivation there can lead to, you know, poor mental health outcomes, decreased energy, hormone imbalances, mood swings, things like that. And it's not to say like, oh, if you go to bed earlier, you're going to have X symptoms. And if you wake up earlier, you're going to have Y. A lot of times they're probably going to overlap. But I think it's just interesting to see like, depending on the stages and cycles of sleep that you're missing out on, sometimes it can correlate to different negative outcomes, I guess.
I just feel like you're at a point where you can read people in the sense of like, I think you might need to work on your sleep a little bit.
No, some people
I can read myself. I know that I need it.
Some people are really good at hiding it too.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, the CDC has kind of shown that sleep deprivation actually has similar effects to like alcohol consumption. So the longer time you spend awake, it's like the equivalent of a higher blood alcohol content. It says about 24 hours awake, you'll experience the same effects as about 0.10 blood alcohol content, which is well above the legal limit here in Utah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so it'd be interesting to see like, you know, can you get driving under the influence of, you know, being drowsy, things like that. So yeah, when you're super sleep deprived, you're putting yourself at higher risk of things like car accidents and things like that because your reaction time is slowed. And then even certain chronic preventable conditions, you're having an increased risk there. So obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, those are all things that you have a higher likelihood of getting if you have kind of consistent sleep deprivation throughout your life.
Yeah. I think nobody wants to do that on purpose. Like risk yourself, you know, getting in a car crash or with your heart. And I think we need to remember, I think me specifically, like, oh, like I'll sleep when I'm dead, but like McKenna was saying earlier, if you don't sleep, you'll literally die. You'll die. So if for someone listening or for myself listening, okay, I need to fix this, what would you guys say is the best place to start with, like getting to prioritize your sleep a little bit more and like realizing that there are some negative outcomes that you don't want to kind of, develop when you're not getting enough sleep?
For sure, for sure. So the good news is that there are a lot of little things that we can do and put into our lives that make a big difference. We talked about circadian rhythm. Basically, you want to treat that as your friend. You want to take care of it. You want to support it. So when you can get sunlight in the morning, dimming the lights before bed, and having a consistent schedule and like that sleep hygiene that people talk about and that Max was mentioning, like even on the weekends, trying to go to bed at the same time that you do on the weekdays. Another one is being aware of caffeine and alcohol usage. That's going to really help support our natural rhythm and our circadian rhythm.
Caffeine's a big one for me. I don't know if it's the same for you, but especially in Utah too, like with all the soda and the energy drinks.
Oh yeah. Well, and a lot of people they just don't have it right before bed.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I would also say don't have it immediately after you wake up. Maybe wait like 90 to 120 minutes after waking up to have caffeine. I know people are like, my morning coffee or my morning Diet Coke or whatever it is, or Red Bull, I don't know. But delaying it as long as you can. I mean, I don't love caffeine like in general, but I know that that's like a really common thing. And so I would say like delaying it 120 minutes after waking up. And that way your body has the ability to naturally like have its ability to wake itself up, and you're supporting your natural rhythms there and giving it the chance to wake up on its own without having to supplement caffeine. But yeah, caffeine is a big one, and that's a hard one for sure.
I do have a question. What would you say is like a time in the day where you should stop drinking caffeine so like you can get like a decent night's sleep?
It's about 3 hours before you go to bed. Yeah, it's just around there.
Yeah.
And so like afternoon, I guess, would be a good time if you need caffeine, or like lunchtime.
Oh, that's great. I went to a movie with some friends last Saturday, and it was like I think it was like a 9:40 showtime. And I look over and I see my friend pull an energy drink out of her bag and open it. And I was like, it's so late. What are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'll fall asleep. I'm like, but you're going to be up all night after this. And so I just thought that was funny. But sorry. Anyway, continue.
Well, and I know people that drink energy drinks at like 10 p.m. and they're fine. I'm like, I don't know how that works for you, but like maybe your body's used to it or something, but I don't know. Some other things are exercising daily when possible. That's going to help you to have a better sleep at night, except we do say to avoid doing it the 3 hours before you go to bed as well, because again, with like our body temperature, exercising increases your body temperature, and you want to, warm up to cool down. Like you said, your body, when you're sleeping, it naturally cools down. And so giving it 3 hours to cool off is what we would recommend. We talked a little bit about having a sleep conducive environment, like a comfortable place, making sure your bed's comfortable, your sheets, pajamas, temperature, and everything like that is going to help you to have a better sleep. There's actually kind of a fun fact about birds is when they're flying in a flock, the two on the outside only sleep with half of their brains in a deep sleep to protect the flock and make sure that the flock is safe. And our brains actually do the same thing. So if we're not fully comfortable, half of our brain isn't entering into a deep sleep. So maybe you've experienced that, like if you're sleeping in a new place or like a hotel, your body, like it doesn't let your brain fully enter into that sleep to protect itself and make sure the environment's safe. And so it really does help to have like a comfortable place where you feel safe, where you can sleep and you can rest. It makes a huge difference. So, or like 100%. Camping for me, I'm like scared of spiders or bears or something. So I'm like, half my brain I don't sleep very well when I camp,
Oh, I agree.
So anyways, so that makes a big difference. Another one is if you can't sleep, I think a lot of us will like wake up in the night and look at the clock and it stresses us out. It's like, oh, I have to be to this meeting in 4 hours, or I need to be to work in 5 hours, or whatever it is, or you're stressed about not getting enough sleep. But we recommend not staring at the clock, because obviously that's going to bring
I remember
more stress.
You guys recommended that, and I haven't been doing it. And I feel like if I do wake up in the middle of the night and I need a drink of water, and when you look at the clock and you're like, oh, I have an hour, you know, and I've stopped doing that, and it feels like, oh, okay, I woke up like an hour after I fell asleep, and now like the next time I wake up, it's, you know, 7, and I'm not stressed out about losing that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's actually helped a ton.
Yeah, and like you said, like getting a drink of water or writing in your journal if you can't sleep, or drawing, staying off your phone. We said it like a million times, but like staying off your phone, it's so hard. But doing things that are relaxing to you, maybe deep breathing. There's actually podcasts that you can listen to that they're designed to never get to the point, and it's just like random people rambling, and it's like it's meant to bore you, and it's actually meant to help you fall asleep. So those kind of things can help, but not just like staring at the clock. And anyways, another thing I would say is like starting your day to get a good sleep at night. So like, because obviously, like we said, like our circadian rhythms, it's a 24-hour cycle about. And so starting your day with that sunlight, starting your day with a positive mindset, and starting your day avoiding caffeine, and when possible, exercising in the morning can really help to kind of support that circadian rhythm. But those are some of our biggest tips, I would say, with getting good sleep.
And they're not like huge, which is really nice. So like, I feel like if you're trying to kind of regulate your sleep schedule a little bit more, prioritize getting quality sleep, there's small steps that you can take that will make a big difference, which I think is really helpful. I also saw that you guys talked about naps. Can you talk about that a little bit? What you think about naps?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the times throughout the day, I don't know if you experience it, but you get kind of like a midday slump in the afternoon where you just like hit a wall and you're like, I need to go to bed.
Yeah.
And that's actually kind of a natural part of our circadian rhythm. Can't remember what it's called, but it's basically an alertness dip, where you just kind of hit a wall, I guess. And so sometimes for some people, taking like a brief nap can help to temporarily restore some energy levels and some focus. But it's important to note that like napping can't replace sleeping. Anyways, I hope nobody's napping for a long enough period of time where they're starting to kind of cycle through the different phases of sleep. So, you know, if you do choose to nap, some things that can be helpful is just trying to keep it brief. You know, I've seen 20 to 30 minutes, anything beyond that, you're not really adding much benefit to a nap. And then trying to finish your naps earlier in the daytime, before about 3 p.m. That's going to help kind of avoid facing some sleep disturbances at night. So
yeah, I found that when I take really long naps, I don't really do it anymore, but if I were to take like a 2-hour nap, I wake up feeling way more tired and super groggy, which always.
I'm not a napper. Like, it takes a lot for me to need a nap, and usually when I wake up, I feel horrible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this common? Because I feel like most people do really well and like need an hour nap or something. So I don't know if you have any more information on that.
yeah, you know, I'm not exactly, because I've experienced that too, where you wake up after a nap and you feel more tired than you did before.
Or like my stomach hurts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't speculate on that.
Maybe it's your chronotype.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the intermediate hummingbird.
I love that. Well, before we kind of wrap some things up, what's one thing that somebody could do tonight with their sleep that would have the biggest impact on their sleep, like their sleep quality right away, if you could think of one?
Yeah, for sure. One of our bosses, she says this thing. She's like, if you want to change your life overnight, get a good sleep. So it makes a big difference. I would say we've talked about a lot of things, and I think as women, we can be hard on ourselves, and we can be like, oh, well, I'm doing this and this and this and this wrong. I need to change that and that. I would say just choose like 1 to 2 things that we talked about today that stuck out to you the most, that is feasible for you. Like maybe you, right now, cutting out caffeine, it's not a possibility. You know, maybe that's how it is. Or maybe right now you feel like you can't work out in the mornings, you have work in the morning or whatever it is. But just choose one thing that we talked about, or 2 things that's feasible to you right now and that you can bring into your life, and just work on those things, because it can be overwhelming to be like, oh, I need to completely change everything that I do now, you know?
Yeah.
And so I hope no one feels that way, but I would just say choose 1 to 2 things to start on right now.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I like that. Going along with that, I'd say just trying to create like a pre-bedtime routine can be really helpful. So setting yourself and your environment up for a good sleep, I guess. So some of the things we talked about, you know, dimming the lights, engaging in relaxing activities before bed, things like that. And then, not agonizing over falling asleep.
Yeah. I love how you mentioned like not trying to fix everything right away, like picking things that make sense for like your lifestyle, what you're wanting to target. And I think we talk about that a lot at Wellah because wellness, I feel like it's not something you just fix overnight. It's very gradual. And so if with me, we've made goals and we're trying to stick to them. We're talking about it on our social media. Like I'm horrible at waking. I'm like, it's the worst. I've even started to put my phone across the room with my alarm, but I've gotten to the point with my brain where I'll just pick up my phone, go back to bed. I'll sleep more. And so I've made it a goal just to, okay, I'm going to wake up at 6:45 and I would like to wake up at 6, but realistically that's not going to work for me. And so I think just making your goals fit to where you're at with your wellness journey and just kind of remembering like our 5 wellness tips. They're very simple and they don't need to be extreme, which I love that we talk about that. But.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to like sleep and health and wellness is also very individual as well. And so figuring out what works best for you, like any parents out there, sometimes you don't get the luxury of like getting the best sleep, or sometimes you have to take a nap. And so just catering it and tailoring it to what works for you, I think is important as well.
I have a question. So I've heard a lot women need more sleep than men. What is your actual recommendation? If people are watching this and they're like, I've heard so many different things. What is the difference between men's sleep versus women's and how much they need?
Yeah, so kind of towards the beginning, I talked about like how we have our cycles and we have fluctuating hormones of progesterone and estrogen. Like they fluctuate so much based on like what cycle or phase we're in of our cycle. And so during our menstrual cycle and right before it, that's when our progesterone and estrogen levels drop. And so those make it harder to get a good sleep. And so I don't know necessarily if I'd say like we need more sleep, but I'd say we need to maybe prioritize it more. Okay. Maybe we do need more. I'd have to do more research on it, but I would say that like it's really important for us women, especially with our cycle, to get.
And how many hours does that mean usually?
Yeah, I mean they reckon it's 7 to 9, but I'd say when you're on your cycle, try to get 9, or on your period, try to get 9. I don't know. That's what I would recommend. It's so hard sometimes. So 9 seems like a lot, and so 7 to 9 is kind of what we usually say.
I have this conversation with my husband all the time because he's like, you prioritize getting 8 hours of sleep, and if you don't, you get so stressed out. I'm like, that's because I physically like need sleep. And he's like, no, you don't. You can sleep 6 hours and you're fine. Like women don't need more sleep than men. I'm like, you don't understand.
Yeah.
You don't understand.
Well, and then also the fact that our brains are so much more busy. So maybe our brains just have more to recover from, from the day too.
100%.
So, because I have a friend who gets like 4 or 5 hours of sleep at night.
My gosh.
And I'm like, if I did that, I would not function. Like I would not be able to do anything that day. So
Seems like men do better with less sleep though. Like, do you feel that way?
I must be the anomaly because I don't get 8 hours.
It's over. He's out.
I had to take a melatonin last night because I'm like, I need to be prepared for this podcast. Can't be sleep deprived coming on a sleep podcast.
I love that.
Okay, I have another question. It is specific to weight loss. If you have so if someone's watching this and they're like, my goal is to lose weight, what things would you say would be priorities for that person?
Like with sleep specifically? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we all have heard of like cortisol, the hormone cortisol, and you don't want a lot of it, and that's going to be regulated while you're sleeping. And so weight loss with cortisol, I'd say you get more sleep and then you'll have less of a problem with that. I don't know. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of a curveball. I wasn't ready for that.
I mean, that's very common with our audience is wanting to lose weight. Like I've asked in our community, what's your goal? And most people say they've got some weight to lose. And so I didn't know if you had anything specific for that goal.
I mean, I think it'd be kind of like standard what we said, like the 7 to 9 hours, and then just like trying to get the highest quality you can, because our bodies just release a lot of hormones when we sleep. And depending on where the weight's coming from, like if it is like a hormonal thing, which for a lot of women, like lots of times that's what it is. It's like hormonal. I mean, same with a lot of things like acne, it's our hormones are so important, and when we're getting good sleep, then our body can release and regulate a lot better. And so that's why people say like, oh, get a good sleep and your skin clears up, or get a good sleep and you'll lose weight, and it does like it impact. I don't know if sleep's like the number one thing with weight loss, but it's definitely gonna help if you get that 7 to 9 hours, I would say.
I think there's a lot of like interconnectedness between different health things. So like, if you're getting a good sleep, like you might be more motivated to engage in other healthy behaviors like eating healthy, or you're going to have more energy at the gym. You're going to work harder at the gym. So I think it's interesting to see like how it can kind of extend into other areas of your life.
Yeah. It's like a domino.
Yeah.
I feel like with our 5 habits, usually if someone picks one, like if they were to pick sleep, it does affect all of the other ones just naturally.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Because if you're eating well, your body's going to have more energy, and then during the day, and then you can rest better at night. Like they're all just so intertwined.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any questions for us about Wellah, about any supplements, anything like that?
I do have a question. So, and maybe, I don't know. I took creatine for a long time. This isn't about sleep, if that's okay.
No, of course. No. No, you're good. Anything related.
Okay, I took creatine for a while, but I'm a long distance runner. I love to run. And so I heard that it can dehydrate you. And so I was kind of concerned about taking it all the time. If I wasn't getting enough water and like electrolytes, if that was going to have a negative impact. I don't know if you guys know anything about that.
With
Actually,
creatine, a lot of people have worried about that. We have people comment all the time like, does this happen? It can happen. You have to be dedicated to drinking plenty of water. We have had so many comments about it. We actually made a hydration, like electrolyte creatine product.
Oh,
because
cool.
even one of our employees, Lily, she said, I would take creatine and I'd get a headache. So she would do creatine plus hydration.
Beautiful. Wait, I'm looking at
And
this.
she didn't have any
That's
issues
awesome.
because she was getting all the salts and minerals that she needed along with it. So you do have to drink plenty of water when you're taking creatine, but I think you'll notice if you're like, oh, this doesn't feel right, and you can adjust your water intake based on that. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Really
nothing to be scared of.
yeah.
Because I know there's so many benefits. Like I've heard like it helping even with like your brain and like Alzheimer's and
Cognitive
stuff like that.
Big one.
It's amazing.
So cool. Yeah. My brother works for Mountain Ops. If you guys have heard of that company. So yeah, he got me on creatine. He's like, you need to be taking this. I'm like, okay. But then I was worried, so I stopped. But I do feel like it was helpful. Like, because what it does, correct me if I'm wrong, is it like puts like more hydration into your muscles.
Yes.
And so you can like do more and they get less fatigued.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Creatine is probably our number one product, right?
Yeah. Creatine's
It's our most popular, and creatine is so complex. It's the most researched supplement in the world. And there's, again, so many benefits. It does help with, focusing more on the muscle. But then there's cognitive function. It helps with pre and postmenopausal for women. There's so many benefits to it. And we just don't talk enough about it.
I feel like with women, it's still like unresearched.
Yeah.
There's only newer research just on women. So,
Okay.
And I think like the big negative is like, oh, if you take creatine, it's going to make you bulky, which is
not true.
It's just
I've tried.
I know, I was gonna say, if only it was that easy to put muscle on, just take creatine and then you have all the muscle.
I actively tried.
I think the bulkiness aspect of it comes from you're getting water pushed into your muscle where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so bulky right now. But like there is a bloating phase where when you first start taking it, it's gonna, push more water into your muscle. Your body's kind of regulating to it. And you do have to take more of a consistent schedule with creatine. You can't just take it here and there because then your body's just gonna be like, okay, what's going on? If you're more structured with how you're taking your creatine, you're taking it daily, that's when you're gonna see the most benefits. And that's when you're gonna notice, okay, like I'm drinking my water, I'm taking my creatine, I'm not bloated as much. Because if you just take it like once a week or twice a week and you just keep getting bloated, it's because you're not really using it to the point where you should be.
Try it out.
Yeah,
See
I will.
how you feel.
I can do
Most
it.
people will feel and see results between like 4 to 6 weeks,
Yeah.
where they're like, oh, I think something's working. Like I can run faster or longer or things like that. So
Because I have heard too. So you think it is good for endurance athletes? Because I know for like
Yeah.
strength training, it's like highly recommended. But I didn't know
yeah, it's
how it was for like long distance.
Yes. I would be very curious if you tested it. Like, I
Okay.
would love to know with your
Okay.
running if it helped your performance, because
Okay.
it does help with strength, but endurance is a big part of it as well.
Okay. Great. All right. I'll get on it. I'll
Yeah,
get
I
going.
can't wait. We'll get you some.
Yes,
yeah.
We'll show you.
Our little storage room. But any other questions we can answer before we wrap up?
Or any words of
Yes.
wisdom people need to know that you're
Exactly.
like,
I guess I'm just curious in learning more about Wellah, like what some of your goals and like where you'd like to be in a few years. Like what is the vision here? What's the mission statement?
Lizzie is the mind.
I mean,
behind Wellah.
ultimately, when I did this, I think when I was revisiting Wellah and we were rebranding it, initially we kept saying like, you're an athlete, like everyone's an athlete, because it was more like performance focused. And it was very obvious that that wasn't true. Like I talked to this lady who ran a Boston Marathon and I was like, do you consider yourself an athlete? Like, no. It's like, but you ran the Boston Marathon.
I consider her an athlete.
And she's like, I just don't feel like I'm like an athlete. I'm just like a regular person. And then with her, I interviewed like 150 plus women. And so I was like, okay, well, what are you doing? What are your eating habits? What is your water intake? What's your exercise? Like all of those 5 things, I tried to see like, how much protein do you think you should have a day? And some people were like, I don't know, like 20 grams. And I was like, a day?
That's crazy.
Or how much sleep are you getting? Most people would say about 6 hours, which was like, oh gosh, how are you guys alive? So it was just obvious that no one knew how to take care of themselves just on a basic level. But I don't fault anyone. Like that's just our education. United States, like you don't learn any of this unless you're gonna specialize it in college or something, right? Maybe in like a high school class you would learn things, but for the most part everyone just said they're really confused. So they thought health and wellness looked like a lot of things all the time, but it's just little increments just consistently. And so I didn't feel like anything existed at the time. Like I worked in weight loss, and that's always been a problem in the United States, but weight loss has never been like cool or fun or, you know what I mean? It was like a lot of bodybuilders and brands with that. And then there's just like the hot girl, like totally unattainable.
Bikini babe.
Yeah. And I was just like, I don't
unrealistic.
feel like I fit in with any of these brands. Like I'm just normal and I want to take products and live a way that I can just be normal and be really healthy. And so that's kind of what everyone else felt like.
I love
And
it.
so I was like, okay, well, let's make a fun, bubbly brand that's welcoming to people. And even if I were to help one person be healthier, like, you know, then I would be really happy. But my goal was to be helping millions and millions of people, like just with things like this, like getting experts on the show, because I'm not an expert in sleep at all, but I want to meet with people who can give that correct information to people like me, or like, I don't know, I just try my best every day.
I would say we're experts in training. Like I don't want to come off as the person who gets 9 hours of sleep every night, because it's not that
We're
way.
all
But
trying. Like even the experts still struggle. That's the thing that I like about Wellah, is like, yeah, we're going to talk to people who are experts, but can't say that they're doing everything perfectly. Like no one is. So
Well, thank you all for your service. Seriously,
Yeah.
I think things like
It's
this are super
amazing.
important,
thank you.
Oh yeah, we loved having you guys come on, and I think wellness is just so complex and sleep is so complex, and there's so many great resources. Like UVU is just right down the road from us, and I love you. So
Yeah,
I'm
if
so
people
happy that you
had
guys are here.
questions and wanted to reach out to you about sleep, how would they do that? You guys have like
Yeah, time to plug the socials.
Go for it. I was gonna say. It's
Yeah,
our
you
chance.
can. So we have Instagram, UVU Wellness. You can also, if you just look up UVU Wellness, like in a search browser, will probably be the first link there. It'll have all of our different services and things like that. We do one-on-one sleep counseling and things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, please.
UVU has so many great resources. Seriously, if you're a student at UVU, they love you so much, and
Yes, we
you
do.
need to take advantage of their resources because they're there to help you succeed. I love UVU, and I just never shut up about
We
it.
also help
Well said.
community members too, right? If community members came in for
Yeah, you
a
don't have to
health
be-
education session.
You don't have to be directly like a student. So,
Yeah.
And not just sleep. We could talk about stress or nutrition strategies or just living a happier life, things like that too. So
all health and wellness.
Love it.
That's my happy space.
ours too. We love it.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you guys again, Max and Eliza. Well, I don't know how we're going to end this.
I don't know.
That's how we ended it.